Podcasting and radio have some obvious parallels. And even though podcast pundits quote Buggles lyrics and radio pros try to exert their birthright, it's a shared future we're in for. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. This week I'm talking about podcasts encroaching into other forms of media and other forms of media encroaching into podcasting. Yesterday I took on TV, and today might as well go for radio. Might as well hit the radio thing. As I said at the beginning, radio, podcasting, similar medium, right? People listen to things without something to watch. Yes, I know there are a handful of video podcasters still out there, but let's face it, podcasting is audio, as radio is also audio. Similar parallels, as I said, but also some pretty clear differences. But I'm not here to talk about the ins and the outs of those. I want to talk about the future. How do we make podcasting better? What can podcasting learn from radio? What can we do to take it forward? Because there are more people that listen to the radio than listen to podcasts. Make sure that you understand that. Today, in the world, more people listen to their radio, that technology that's 100 years old. More people listen to the radio than listen to podcasts. More advertising dollars are spent on the radio than are spent in podcasting. And while many people have been predicting the death of radio, how podcasting is going to kill radio, well, it's still around 15 years later and probably not going away anytime real soon. But let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the benefits. How do they work together? What can we podcasters learn from radio, and what can radio give to podcasters? I think probably the biggest thing that everybody needs to understand, especially working podcasters like yourself, radio can mean a lot of things. When you think radio, unless you're a radio pro, if you're just a regular average person who came into podcasting, you probably don't understand that what we understand as radio is a very, very slim, thin sliver of what radio actually is. We think of radio as commercial radio, which is either talk shows, guess what most podcasts are, or music programs, a little bit more challenging with podcasting because of music rights. That's about it. And then news. And, we kind of blend the news and the talk show together. It's news, it's talk, it's music, it's sports. That's what's on the radio dial. It doesn't take, you don't have to go, if you had to write down the types of radio programs you are exposed to, if you went through your dial right now, started going through the dials and seeing what the stations are playing, it's one of those. It's music, it's talk, it's news, it's sports. And that's it. However, that's really not it. There's one other little channel, maybe 2 or 3 channels, depending on where you live, where there's a whole new group of public radio stations doing very different things. Doing storytelling. Yeah. Doing in-depth journalism, not just reporting on the news, but digging deep into the news. Now, you may not hear those in your local markets because there's only a certain number of stations that are broadcasting with a stick on the mountain or in a cornfield if you live in Iowa. There's only so many stations broadcasting to you. Radio signals tend to attenuate, which means lose signal over time, so you can only hear what's in your local market. But there's a lot of different things in radio. Actually, FCC regulations aside, those are the rules by the federal government here in America that say we can't say bad words on the public airwaves. Those aside, radio can actually be as varied as podcasting. It really can. But it tends not to be. It tends not to be because of commercial interests. Radio has to appeal to the lowest common denominator. I guess a better way to say that is to the maximum number of people in their area so that they can sell ads. Not true with podcasting. Sure, lots of shows do want to sell ads, but because we have the global footprint, because we are not limited to a local marketplace. Big shows can grow as big as they want to be, and they can get lots of ads from them. So I don't really see a time when radio gets killed by podcasting. If anything, I see radio and podcasting living a long history together. Yeah, we do have radio people who will just want to repurpose their radio shows in podcasting form, and that sucks for a lot of them. Sometimes it can work, but, programmed ad spots, programmed, built-in, hey, we're back, all these kind of things, they don't really work in podcasting because nobody went anywhere. If anybody goes anywhere on a podcast, it's the listener, it's not the host. Listeners can choose where they want to go and where they don't want to go. So a lot of those little tropes don't actually work. But if radio has brought one thing into podcasting, well, it's me. I was actually on an internet radio program prior to having a podcast. I was on regular broadcast station with a live radio show as well about the same time I was getting even more involved in podcasting. So radio will definitely teach you some really good habits, like proximity effect of a microphone, right? So there are great things it does there. I think what we're seeing right now, especially a lot of the more creative radio people of the PRX variety, a public radio exchange, and other forms of public radio stations, they've really adapted into podcasting, jumped into podcasting, because they don't have to fight for airtime. Yeah, they don't have to fight for airtime. They can just do it whenever they want. That which makes one of the things that makes podcasting so special. They can just make it whenever they want to. They still have their radio show. And in fact, many of them still talk about making great radio because they're not concerned about the true definition of the term. What does it mean for radio? They don't necessarily mean that which is broadcast from a stick on the mountain, the radio waves themselves. They mean the type of content they want to make. And they call it radio, wherever it gets distributed. A podcast is a perfectly good place to distribute some. Well, you could do all radio programs, but some of those work really well in podcasting. The reverse is true as well. There are opportunities for podcasters to have their voice heard on the radio. I did that originally. I had a podcast and I went to a local radio station and they said, yeah, we don't want your podcast, we want your voice. So come on. And that cross promotes back and forth. So there's opportunities to do this, and that's going to just increase. As you, the working podcaster, get more comfortable with your show and your voice, there may be an opportunity for you to get on your local radio stations. Why not? You already know what you're doing. You can have a conversation. You've got the mic placement down. Why not? Maybe it's a weird spot. Maybe it's a 2 a.m. spot. Maybe it's weird time on Sunday. Who knows? But podcasting and radio can live in harmony with one another. And they're going to live in harmony with one another for the foreseeable future. They just are. There are advantages to both. You turn the radio on, it plays. It's kind of nice. But of course, podcasting has almost everything you could possibly want, way more than your local set. So one's not killing the other. The future is bright for both podcasting and for radio. Just jump in with both feet, or just to one. It doesn't really matter. No worrying about your birthright, please. No worrying about killing the other one. Come on. Just let these things work side by side. That's the future as I see it. I'd love to hear what you think about that. What do you think about radio and podcasting working together hand in hand like chocolate and peanut butter? Am I on track? Tell me right here in the comments if you like, or you can go to Fluke, sure, don't go there. Go to flick.group /podcast pontifications and get that free app where we can communicate. Also, if you want to support the program, because I don't run ads, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/evoterra and, well, buy me a coffee. And if you're in business and need some help thinking about your strategy for approaching your audience, your clients, your prospects, with an audio-only message, podcasting, get in touch with me, evo@podcastlaunch.pro, or go to podcastlaunch.pro, because I got all the things listed right there. Enjoy the rest of your day. I shall be back tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers!